Sorry, I got interrupted there. Hopefully, I hit a button. There's all the files. What's the matter with you, Claude? We have only 1 hour. 5 minutes of planning are worth 15 minutes of just looking. Quick, give me a pencil and a notepad from that table. Jamie ran to get them. Claudia immediately making a list. Here's what we'll look up. I'll take the odd numbers, you take the even. I want odd. For goodness sakes, Jamie, takes odd then. Here's the list Claudia wrote. Michelangelo, Bornatoi, Angel, Park Burnett Galleries, Metropolitan Museum of Art, Italian Renaissance, auctions, sculpture, marble, Florence, Italy, Rome, Italy. There's 11 things. Jamie looked over that list. I changed my mind. I'll take evens. There's one less. Talk about wasting time, Claudia screamed. Take evens then, but get to it. They began to work very rapidly. Claudia once or twice cautioned Jamie not to make a mess. They exhausted the list, odds as well as evens. There were folders on most of the categories they looked up, but upon examining them, they found not one hint of Angel. Claudia was feeling depressed. She looked at the clock. 6 minutes ago. Think, Jamie, think. What else can we look up? Jamie squinted his eyes, a sign he was thinking hard. Look up under... What kind of language is that? Look him up under... Oh, baloney, Claudia. Why do you always pick on my gram? Bologna, Bologna, that's it, Jamie. She bought Angel in Bologna, Italy. The paper said so. Look up Bologna. Both ran to the files and pulled out a file folder fat with papers and documents. It was labeled Bologna, Italy. They knew even before opening it was the right one. I knew too. They found the file that held the secret. Claudia was no longer in a hurry. She sauntered over to the table, carefully laid down the file, smoothed her skirt under her, sat in a chair. Jamie was jumping up and down. Hurry, Claude, the hour is almost over. Claudia was not to be hurried. She carefully opened the file, almost afraid of what she would find. The evidence was sealed between 2 sheets of glass. The evidence was very special, very old piece of paper. On one side was a written poem, a sonnet. Since it was written in Italian, neither Claudia nor Jamie could read it, but they could see that it was handwritten, was angular and beautiful, it itself almost a work of art. And there was a signature, Michelangelo. The other side of the paper needed no translation, for there in the midst of sketches of hands and torsos was a sketch of someone we knew, Angel. There was the first lines of a thought that was to become a museum mystery 470 years later. There on that piece of old paper was the idea just as it had come from Michelangelo's head to his hand, and he had jotted it down. Claudia looked at the sketch until its image became blurred. She was crying. At first she said nothing. She simply sat on the chair with tears slowly streaming down her face, hugging the glass frame and shaking her head back and forth. When at last she found her voice, it was a hushed voice, the voice she used for church. Just think, Jamie. Michelangelo himself touched this over 400 years ago. Jamie was looking through the rest of the folder. The glass, he said. I bet he didn't touch the glass. Or are his fingerprints on it? He didn't wait for an answer before asking something else. What do you suppose the rest of these papers are? They are my research on Angel, I answered, as I emerged from my hiding place in the closet. He did it in Rome, you know. I just filed under B for Bologna to make it hard. Both children looked up at me startled. Just as they'd lost all their feelings of urgency, they'd also lost all thoughts of me. Finding a secret can make everything else unimportant, you know. Claudia said nothing, and nothing, and nothing. She continued clutching the drawing to her chest and rocking it back and forth. She appeared to be in a trance. Jamie and I stared at her until she felt our eyes focused on her like 4 laser beams. She looked up at us and smiled. Michelangelo did sculpture the statue, didn't he, Mrs. Frankweiler? Of course. I've known for a long time he did, ever since I got that sketch. How did you get the sketch? Jamie asked. I got it after the war. Which war? Jamie interrupted. World War II. Which war do you think I meant? The American Revolution? Are you that old? Jamie asked. I'm not even going to answer that. Claudia said, Hush, Jamie, let her tell us. But she couldn't hush either. She rushed in with the explanation. I bet you helped some rich Italian nobleman or some descendant of Michelangelo to escape, and he gave you the sketch out of his undying gratitude. That's one explanation, but not the correct one. There was a rich Italian nobleman involved. That part is right. Did he sell it to you? Jamie asked. Claudia rushed in again with another explanation. He had this beautiful daughter. She needed this operation very badly, and you. Jamie interrupted. Hush, Claudia. Then he asked me, why did he give it to you? Because he was a very, very bad poker player, and I'm a very good one. You won it at cards? I could see the admiration growing in Jamie's eyes. Yes, I did. Did you cheat? He asked. Jamie, when stakes are high, I never cheat. I consider myself too important to do that. Jamie asked, how come you don't sell the sketch? You could get quite a boodle for it, being that it matches up with the statue and all. I need having a secret more than I need the money, I told him. I knew that Claudia understood. Jamie looked puzzled. Thank you for sharing your secret with us, Claudia whispered. How do you know we'll keep your secret? Jamie asked. Now, a boy who cheats at cards should be able to answer that. Jamie's face broke into a huge grin. Bribery, he exclaimed. You're going to bribe us. Hallelujah. Tell me, I'm ready. What's the deal? I laughed. The deal is this. You give me the details of your running away, I'll give you the sketch. Jamie gasped. That doesn't sound like bribery. That doesn't even sound like you, Mrs. Frankweiler. You're smarter than that. How do you know I won't slip about your secret as I did about the museum? That boy really amused me. You're right, Jamie. I am smarter than that. I've got a method to keep you slip-proof about the sketch. What's that? I'm not going to give you the sketch outright. I'm going to leave it to you in my will. You won't tell my secret, because if you do, I'll write you out of my will. You could lose all that money. You said the sketch was worth quite a boodle, so you're going to be very good about keeping this secret. Claudia will keep quiet for different reasons. Her reason happens to be the same as mine. Which is what? Jamie asked. Simply because it's a secret. It'll enable her to return to Greenwich different. Claudia looked at Jamie and nodded. Something I had just said made sense. I continued. Returning with a secret is what she really wants. Angel had a secret, and that made her exciting and important. Claudia doesn't want adventure. She likes baths and feeling comfortable too much for that kind of thing. Secrets are the kind of adventure she needs. Secrets are safe, and they do much to make you different. On the inside, when it counts. I won't actually be getting a secret from you. I'll be getting details. I'm a collector of all things besides art, I said, pointing to my files. If all those files are secrets, and if secrets make you different on the inside, then your insides, Mrs. Frankweiler, must be the most mixed up, the most different insides I've ever seen, or any doctor has ever seen either. I grinned. There's a lifetime of secrets in those files, but there's also a lot of newspaper clippings. Junk. It's hodgepodge, like my art collection. Now you'll tell me all about your running away. I'll add that to my files. Whereas Jamie's excitement bubbled out of him in grins and spurts of jittering around the room, Claudia's excitements flowed, not bubbled. I could see that she was a little surprised. She had known Angel would have the answer, but she hadn't expected it to be a loud bang, not a quiet soaking in. Of course, secrets make a difference. That's why planning the runaway had been such fun. It was a secret, and hiding in the museum had been a secret. But they weren't permanent. They had to come to an end. Angel wouldn't. She could carry the secret of Angel inside her for 20 years, just as I had. Now she wouldn't have to be a heroine when she returned home, except to herself. And now she knew something about secrets that she had never known before. I could tell that she felt happy. Happiness is excitement that was found a settling down place, but there's always a little corner that keeps flapping around. Claudia could have kept her doubts to herself, but she was an honest child, an honorable child. Mrs. Frankweiler, she said, swallowing hard, I really love the sketch. I really do. I love it. Just love it. But don't you think you ought to give it to the museum? They're just dying to find out whether the statue is real or not. Nonsense. What a conscience you suddenly have. I want to give it to you in exchange. If you and Jamie want to give it to the museum, after you inherit it, then you can give it to the museum. I won't let the museum people near here. If I could keep them out of Connecticut altogether, I would. I don't want to have it while I'm alive. Claudia wiped her forehead with her sleeve of her sweater and asked, "Why not?" "I've thought about that for a long time. I've decided why not. What they'll do is start investigating the authenticity, if the sketch is authentic. They'll call in authorities from all over the world. They'll analyze the ink and the paper. They'll research all his illustrated notes and compare. In short, they'll make a science of it. Some will say yes, some will say no. Scholars will debate about it. They'll poll all the authorities, and probably the majority will agree that the note and the statue are really the work of Michelangelo. At least that's what they should conclude. But some stubborn ones won't agree, and thereafter the statue and the sketch will appear in books with a big question mark. The experts don't believe in coincidence as much as I do. I don't want them to throw doubt on something I've felt always and all actually known for about 20 years. Claudia's eyes widened. "But Mrs. Frankweiler, if there's the slightest doubt that either statue or sketch is forgery, don't you want to know? Don't you want that last little bit cleared up?" "No," I answered abruptly. "Why not?" "Because I'm 82 years old, that's why." "There now, Jamie, you see, I slipped too. Now I've told you how old I am." Jamie looked at his sister and asked, "What's that got to do with anything, Claudia?" Claudia shrugged. "I'll tell you what I've got to do with it," I said. "I'm satisfied with my own research on the subject. I'm not in the mood to learn anything new." Claudia said, "Mrs. Frankweiler, you should want to learn one new thing every day. We did even that at the museum." "No," I answered. "I don't agree with that. I think you should learn, of course. And some days you must learn a great deal. But you should also have days that you allow what is already in you to swell up inside of you until it touches everything, and you can feel it inside you. If you never take time out to let that happen, then you just accumulate facts, and they begin to rattle around inside of you. You can't make noise with them, but never you can make noise with them, but never really feel anything with them. It's hollow." Both children were quiet, and I continued. "I've gathered a lot of facts about Michelangelo and Angel, and I've let them grow inside me for a long time. Now I feel that I know. That's enough for that. But there's one new thing that I'd like to experience. Not now. Experience. That's one thing is impossible." "Nothing's impossible," Claudia said. She sounded to be exactly like a bad actress in a bad play. Unreal. "Claudia," I said patiently, "when one is 82 years old, one doesn't have to learn one new thing every day, and one knows that some things are impossible. What would you like to experience that's impossible?" "Right now, I'd like to know how your mother feels." "You keep saying that she's frantic. Why do you want to feel frantic?" This came from Claudia. Now she sounded like the real Claudia Kincaid. "It's an experience I would like to have because it's part of a bigger experience I want." Claudia said, "You mean you'd like to be a mother?" Jamie leaned toward Claudia and whispered in the loudest, wettest whisper I've ever heard, "Of course that's impossible. Her husband's dead. You can't be a mother without a husband." Claudia poked Jamie. "Never call people dead. It makes others feel bad. Say deceased or passed away." "Come now, children, put away the file. You must tell me about your adventure. All about it. What you thought and what you said and how you managed to carry off the whole crazy caper." And that's the end of chapter 9.